When someone we love gets sick, it feels like the whole world just stops, doesn't it? It's a time of just immense stress, and every single decision feels monumental. So today we're going to explore one of the toughest choices a family can face, seeking treatment abroad. And we're going to look at what that full journey really looks like, especially beyond the hospital stay.
And that instinct, it's completely natural. It comes from a place of such deep care. In that moment of fear and confusion, the impulse is to find the biggest, most powerful solution you can, no matter what it costs.
Okay, let's be really clear about something right from the start. This is not about criticizing that choice. Deciding to go overseas for treatment is never a mistake. It is an act of love. It's a family wanting the absolute best for someone, driven by that fear of not having tried everything humanly possible.
But why does going overseas so often feel like the only option? Let's take a look at the powerful, really emotional forces that can make this feel less like a choice and more like, well, a necessity.
It usually comes down to four key pressures. You've got reputation, that belief that expensive has to mean effective. Then there's technology, our deep trust in advanced machinery. Then, of course, comes urgency, that terrifying feeling that time is running out. And finally, social pressure from everyone around us. Now, these are all very human reasons, but they can kind of obscure a really critical part of the picture, what happens after the treatment is done.
And that's where some hidden problems can pop up. The very journey that was meant to bring healing can sometimes, unintentionally, create new obstacles for long-term recovery. Let's dig into four of the most common ones.
First up, what we can call the separation of care. Now, hospitals are absolutely incredible at acute emergency care. They save lives, period. But they aren't designed to rebuild daily habits or nutrition or emotional health. And this creates a gap. The hospital's job ends at discharge, but for the family, well, the real work of recovery is just getting started.
Second is family separation and stress. You see, healing really requires calm, but going overseas often introduces the exact opposite. You've got language barriers, unfamiliar food, isolation. And this has a real biological impact. Stress hormones, like cortisol, can literally block the body's ability to repair itself. Honestly, being alone in a foreign hospital is one of the highest stressors a person can possibly face.
The third problem is the immense financial burden. When families have to sell land or borrow their entire life savings, it can create this fear loop. The family feels all this financial pressure, which then transfers anxiety to the patient, who then starts to feel guilt. And this stress, as we just saw, becomes another biological blocker to healing. It's a vicious cycle.
And finally, there's the return home gap. A patient can get the best world-class treatment, but then they often return to the exact same environment that made them sick in the first place. The same stress, the same nutrition, the same sleep habits. If the environment doesn't change, the signals to the body stay the same. It's like, yeah, the immediate fire is out, but all the conditions for a new one are still right there.
So all of these problems really point to one fundamental misunderstanding, a critical distinction that, honestly, can change everything for a family on this journey.
We focus so much on the treatment, the surgery, the procedure, the medicine, but we often completely forget to ask the most important question of all. What happens after the treatment is done? This right here is the key difference. Think of it this way. Treatment is like firefighters putting out a house fire. It's an essential emergency response to stop the immediate threat. But putting out the fire is not the same thing as rebuilding the house. That rebuilding process, that is recovery.
The hospital's job is treatment and stabilization, but the family's job is recovery, rebuilding strength, function, and long-term health. The real aha moment is this. You can have a totally successful treatment where the fire is put out, but still fail at recovery if the house is never rebuilt. So how do we do it? How do we shift from that feeling of panic to a clear, confident plan? How do we start focusing on rebuilding the house? Well, it all begins with a simple change in perspective.
It starts with a really profound shift in the question we ask ourselves. Instead of focusing on the biggest or most expensive thing we can do, we can ask a much more powerful, biological question. What helps the body feel safer and stronger day after day?
This simple shift helps you separate the emergency question, which is all about doctors and medicine, from the recovery question, which is about things like nutrition, sleep, and environment. The thing is, you need a plan for both, and it's so crucial not to confuse the two.
And you don't have to change everything all at once. The body is constantly listening to signals from its environment, so you can just start by changing one. Simple things like eating meals at the same time every day, or turning off the stressful news in the patient's room, or just opening a window for some fresh air. These little things can begin to create an environment that signals safety to the body, allowing it to finally start that repair process.
So let's end with this thought. A health crisis often feels like a battle we have to fight. But what if we reframed it? Instead of focusing only on what we have to fight, what if we also focused on what we can build? Building strength, building rest, building better nutrition. You know, that shift from fighting to building, that might just be the most powerful medicine of all.